Okay, guys, how you going? It's Simon Paparo here from Four Doors Studios, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about how I'm achieving my mix results on this hip hop it's a hip hop rap beat that I've been working on. Okay, so first I'm going to go through and just show you the instrumentation individually so you get an idea of what's happening. So we'll start with, I've just got the kick, and the kicks there. So I'm going to give you a before and after of what everything sounds like. There's the kick and bass together. Okay, so it's probably a little bit soft. So for now, I'm just going to put all my mix processing and mastering back on, and just so you can actually hear everything a bit more clearly, and then I'll show you the before and after of the mix. Okay, so yeah, here's the kick. And there's the bass. Alright, so what I've done with the kick and bass, I wanted the rhythm section to be really nice and glued together. So what I've done is I've created a summing stack for the kick and bass. So they're all tucked into this one channel here. And summing stacks are really good for this situation where you want to have something that's nice and glued together. So you want to process both tracks at the same time together. So as you can see on the kick and bass, I've got an EQ, and I've also got a nice warm transformer sound going on Saturn 2. And this is just to help them sort of sound a bit more glued together and a bit more cohesive, really. I do recommend using summing stacks if you haven't used them already. So summing stacks are great for processing different things. Like, for example, on the main melody I've got here, this instrument here. So where is it? Go to this summing stack. Yep, so the melody, so if we just solo that, that's the main melody that I've got going in this track. And I wanted to pan one left and one right, and then I just EQ'd both of them from the summing stack to take out, there was a bit of boominess coming at sort of 210 over there. So I took a bit of that out. And then each track has, so what I actually did here, I didn't actually need to do this, but I could have put all of this processing just on the summing stack, which is what I should have done. But anyway, next time I process both of them. So I used an EQ. This is probably one of my favorite compressors, the Supercharger GT. So I've just got a little bit of saturation going. I've got a sort of a gain reduction of close to -4 dB and 3 dB of makeup gain there. And yeah, so I love this compressor because it's just got a really nice it emulates a beautiful analog sound. So the tone of it is really wonderful. It's one of my favorite compressors by Native Instruments there. I've also got a bit of extra dirt going on, so some soft crunch. So dirt, this is a saturation plugin essentially, which just sort of helps bring out some nice frequencies in there. And I've then got it going through. So if you listen to this without any of the effects, that's how it sounds. But then you put the effects back on, and it sounds like that. So the scanner vibrato is what I use there, just to create a bit of sort of give it something different, you know. Okay. Yeah, so that's the summing stack of the main melody there. I used another summing stack over here on the snare, and the reason for this is I wanted to process the snares to get them sounding bigger and wider. And so what I did, I used a technique that I would normally use on electric guitars, but I just thought I'd try it out on the snare, and it actually sounds pretty good. So what that technique is, it's called, I think from memory, the term is called pitch shifting. But it's basically creating copies, panning one left, one right, and one in the center. And on the left one, it is, so on the left one, I have fine-tuned it by 2 cents, and then on the right one, I've gone -2. So the idea behind this is it sort of creates that bigger, wider sound. So this is another way of enhancing the stereo image of a track. So and so that's the reason I wanted to put these in a summing stack. So then I'd only have to process just the summing stack track, as opposed to processing all 3 of these tracks. So on the summing stack, I've got Pro Q3, so I've got the EQ going. Yeah, I've got the Pro C2 compressor, really nice clean compressor, that one. And then I've also got the Pro L2 going on as well. So that's a really good way of like bringing up the snare, making it sound big, and yeah, that's how I've processed that one. So yeah, summing stacks are awesome, guys. If you're not using them, get into them. It's really easy to do. So all you have to do really to make a summing stack is say I've got this. I'll give you an example. So I've got the clap. I'll just add another one. I'll just copy this down. So now we've got 2 claps, right? So all you do is highlight them. So they're highlighted there, and then we go Shift Command G, and it creates a summing stack. So that's all it is, Shift Command G, and then you've got your summing stack, and then you can process just the summing track instead of these 2, and you're saving yourself a lot of CPU usage and whatnot. So that's a really cool idea. And yeah, what else? So yeah, you can also do a new feature on Logic 10.7.6 is also the other thing you can do is summing stacks inside of summing stacks, which is really cool as well. If you want to get carried away with summing stacks, that's what you can do, summing stacks inside of summing stacks. But yeah, okay, so here's the snare anyway. Have a listen to that. Cool. So that's the snare. You got the kick. Then there's a clap. So this is just kicking in at exactly the same time as the snare, and it's just a way of sort of making it sound a bit bigger, creating that extra sort of big sounding snare / clap. Okay. Got hi-hats going on. Okay, so what I did with the clap and the hi-hats, you'll notice here I've got one that's panned to -15, and the clap is +15. And the reason I did that is it just creates that separation so you can hear each individual element, and it sounds a bit wider as well. You get, so on the hi-hats, I've just got some EQ and some sample delay. So again, this is all about the stereo width and processing. So sample delay, what I've done here is I've just I've delayed the right signal on that by 18.8 milliseconds. So what that does is, I'll show you, if you listen to just the hi-hat on its own, and I'll take the sample delay off. So here it is. Yep. Sample delay on. There you go. So off, on, and there you go. So that's one way of making your sound really wide as well. So it's getting some good stereo imaging going on different things. That's another way you can do that. You just gotta, some things you gotta be subtle with this, and sometimes with guitars, for example, you can go a bit further. You might go up to 28 milliseconds, for example, but other instruments you might want to sort of use it sparingly and go down to 7 or 6, whatever that is. Yeah, so the sample delay is an excellent way of creating that stereo image. Same with the claps. I did the same thing on there. I've got an EQ and a sample delay on that one, but on that one, you can see I delayed the left signal. That's because that's panned right and that's panned left. So I did that so they'd be out of each other's way, but they still sound huge, essentially, which is a good idea. Yes. All right. So what else have we got? We got keys. So this piano sound, which I got from Alicia's Keys. Okay. Very clever native instruments. Here it is. I'll show it to you. Okay. So yeah, I've got Alicia's Keys, and I sort of, tinkered around with the settings to get the sound that I was after from these. I used a preset to start with, but then I tinkered with the settings after that to really refine the sound to exactly how I wanted it to sound. Here's how I wanted it to sound. So that really sort of low end sound. And again, that's processed with some EQ. As you can see, I want to mention the EQ on this one. Let's just forget about that. That's kind of pointless. Okay, so the EQ on this one, I just want to mention that I've got a high pass filter there. So I've got that all the way up to sort of almost 170 really. So yeah, so the reason I've got that on up to 170 is I've got a kick and a bass track that I didn't want this to get in the way of. So even though you'd think, oh, you don't want to cut that much of the low end of the low piano part, when you're mixing it, you'll find if you don't do something like this, you're going to run into a clash of low end frequencies, and it just sounds really terrible. So the kick, I know that the kick is roughly around sort of, I think it's about 60 hertz or 70, and then the bass is sort of sitting at around 100 or 90. And I didn't want this piano cutting into that at all, so I've just completely cut it up to 170, which is a big cut. But when you hear it in the mix later on, you'll see what I mean. You'll be able to hear each individual element, and they won't be getting in each other's way. So there's a reason for that. Okay, so we've got the melody, bass, kick, snares, claps. Okay, so we've got the rescue helicopter. So this was fun. What I did, I found a helicopter sample, and then I cut it up and timed it to this song specifically. So here's what it sounds like. So it's heavily processed after I was done with it. So as you can see, I've put on an RX D-Click. So that was simply because it was quite a noisy sample. I didn't like a lot of the background noise, so the RX10 D-Click is great for that. So for cleaning up sort of source noise. So that's an iZotope plugin. That's really nice and comes in handy with cleaning up vocals, like anything recorded on a microphone as well. So vocals, guitars, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I've got EQ on there as well. I've got the Supercharger GT compressor, and also on this one, as I said, I processed this one quite a bit. So I've got the Replica XT set to L to R straight dual setting, and then I tweaked a bit of the mix and a bit of the feedback. That's because I wanted the helicopter sample going from the left all the way over to the right, and then, you know, slowly decaying over time. I didn't want it to, as you can hear, have a listen. There's a lot of feedback going on there. So I didn't want that to, I wanted it to last while playing through the mix. I've also got this is one of Logic Pro's sort of awesome and probably most underutilized stock plugins. This is called Fat FX. It's really awesome. You can do a lot with this. I use it a lot for just for the saturation, for a different type of saturation. So you could turn all these other ones off, for example, and just use it for saturation. Thanks to I think it's Noise London for that tip. I saw his little Instagram account. He's got, he made me aware of this, the saturation, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I looked at it for other effects, and I'm using Fat Crunch on this one, and it just gives this helicopter sound a bit more, a bit more oomph, really. That's what I was up to. It's really cool. I then used I did a vocal. I wanted a vocal sound just as a sample, so I created my own vocal sample, which is this. Yeah, which was literally just that's how it is, but it's just got the processing on it. So we've got an EQ, we've got a compressor, we've got tube EQ, we've got a de-esser, we've got a Saturn, a bit of subtle saturation going on there. We've got, again, the Replica XT is making a feature, but on this one I'm using a ping pong effect, and I am also using sample delay for that extra bit of stereo depth. So yeah, there you go. That's how I've processed everything, and that's all the instruments that we've got. Okay, so I reckon we're about ready to do a before and after. Okay, so let's have a look. I'll just highlight everything here. Okay, so here is, okay, so let's see, so here's how it sounds before all the processing. One second. Okay, you can't really hear that because it's not. Okay, so you get the idea. That's how it is. Right, but once I turn everything on, all of the processing and all of the mastering chain, then it sounds like this. before and after, which is pretty cool, and I'm loving the sound of that. And a couple of things I didn't show you. So there was this little sample here. That was the sort of stop before everything else kicks in. I'll show it to you. So with that, that's just a sample that I got, which I've processed with EQ, compression, and a Replica XT, doing some ping pong. So that's all that one was. And I wanted to show you also the bass, which I thought was really cool because it's got a really nice effect on it. So I spent a lot of time on the bass on this one. So you'll find with mixing, the low end is pretty much the thing to get right. Once you got that, you can sort of work with it, and the high end almost sorts itself out. But you've really got to get that low frequency right and not clashing. So as you could hear before, you know, the bass and the kick and the piano, then they're all. So I've ducked the bass frequency on the kick channel, and I've ducked the kick frequency on the bass channel, etc. So nothing's getting clashed and in the way on the EQing. But this bass, I use Massive X for this one, and I've got EQ, I've got a limiter, and I also used a pedal board. So check this out. This is a great little, what is it? It's a Logic stock plugin essentially. And I put a tube burner on there, I put some phase on there, and I put a tie-dye delay with very minimal feedback and mix. And I used that on the Massive X with the big cheeks effect going on, right? And that's it. Like, I'll turn off the effects and the pedal board, and here's how it sounds. Okay, so it's just the Massive X bass sound, and then you crank on the effects. Really cool, really cool. I also had, you know, a bit of parallel compression going on there, and also a bit of a wide reverb as well, just a tiny bit. So yeah, I decided to use the pedal board because, again, thanks to Noise London, he had this great little tip going on about his favorite stock plugins in Logic, and this is one of them, which is the guitar pedals, but which is a fantastic idea. You can use these effects. Look at all these different pedals that you can use to make awesome different effects on all your different tracks. Like, you could just be there forever trying different sounds out. It's great. So totally worth it. Highly recommend doing that. Thanks, Noise London. And also, yeah, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to show you this sort of, you know, before and after, how I got to the, you know, the end result. And yeah, I think it's sounding great. Sitting at about -9.3, yep, LUFS, all good to go. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much everything, guys. Yeah, I will definitely catch you next time. I just wanted to show you a few things about, you know, how I got there with this particular rap song, and I hope this has helped you in some way or other, and I will definitely catch you next time. Thanks for following Four Doors Studios. You guys are awesome. I will catch you next time. Cheers.